Appreciate you coming on. First off, Eric Schugars, Traverse City Central head coach, Dan Rohn, Warren De La Salle, squaring off at 1 o'clock Friday in the Division II state finals. First off, what a matchup, but the angle I'm looking at on this is just the 2 Orchard View grads. I mean, how cool is that? Coming from a relatively small school and, leading both your respective teams to this matchup. And I know last year, Dan, you had kind of a Muskegon matchup, and you both did. You both faced Mona Shores last year, in your tournament trail there. But I just wanted to start off with, is it true that you guys grew up like very close to each other, like in the same neighborhood?
Yeah. You know what? We were on Oak Park Drive. We grew up. So and I'm trying to think. I was trying to figure out how far we were, Dan. How many blocks away was that?
We separated by the field that we all kind of ran through and hung out in. So we weren't that far, probably 4 or 5 blocks.
Yeah, it wasn't like by Parcel Park there. So
yeah, we ran it. Everybody hung out at Parcel Park and during the summer and played a lot of games together and had a good time.
And what years did you guys graduate from Orchard View?
I was 95.
I'm a lot older. I was an 89 grad.
Okay. And then,
yes, I mean, 6 years apart, we didn't, probably ran in different circles at that point, but I was probably more looking up to that guy.
What do you
am.
What do you remember about Dan as a football player? I know you probably would at your dad's Oak Ridge games a lot, Eric, but what do you remember about, Dan as a football player at Orchard View?
I just remember he's a great football player. I remember people talking about him. It's kind of one of those things. It's funny. I have more memories of like him coaching against my dad actually than when I was younger, because I was around my dad's football teams a lot. I was younger. I went to a lot of Oak Ridge games, maybe not as many Orchard View games because my dad was coaching. So I have more memories of those guys a lot more so than some of the OV guys where I went to school.
Scott, my last high school game was Orchard View versus Oak Ridge. It was always game 9 back in those days. And, we were able to beat Oak Ridge at Oak Ridge. We had a good season. My senior year, we were 8-1, but that was a special memory for me. And like Eric talked about, there were a number of times where I had to coach against Jack. I think Jack's actual last high school game for Oak Ridge was at West Catholic in a playoff game. So, my last high school game, Jack's last coaching game was against each other. And, a lot of memories against, with the Schugars family. And Eric and I's relationships kind of evolved a little bit more when I went up to Ferris and got a chance to know his dad a little bit better and ran a lot of the high school stuff. I ran the clinics and conferences, and Eric would bring his staff around. So we got to know each other a lot better.
Yeah. And then you kind of took me right into the next question, because I thought that's a really cool link with Jack Schugars there. Eric, obviously, it's got to be so special. I did a story last year for M Live when I was with M Live on you and your dad and your relationship, and him coaching with you up in Traverse City, and then coming back home and facing Mona Shores, and him still busy with Ferris State, as a special teams coach, and him still helping you guys as well, and just the way that things have progressed in your program. How special is it just to have your dad around for this whole ride?
It's amazing. It's a dream come true, because I talk about it all the time. You don't get to pick your parents, and I have a great one in my dad, and it's a neat experience for us. It's kind of funny. He ran in here, gave me some plays. He's like, I'm gonna run down to Ferris and help them, then I'll come back to practice. Like, he's asking me permission for him to do that, and so like, he's there to serve and love on kids, and he continues to do that. And so it's great that he does that for our program. I love the fact that he's around. Our players call him Papa Shugs, so it's a neat thing with that. And I know he does great stuff with Tony, and it's awesome to just see him just continue to love coaching and be around young people. And that's what he wants to do. And it's just a blessing to our program too, and our staff.
And then Dan, how crazy is it to, you got to know Jack in a lot of ways. And now this is, I don't know if full circle is the right term, but now you're facing him and his son on the opposite sideline. You faced Jack before, but obviously not Eric, but what's this whole thing like, and how wild is this?
It's special to me. And, I think it's last year I talked about how special Muskegon is and how special football is in the city of Muskegon. And, this is just another, hash mark for them. And, I think a lot of great football has come out of that area, but Jack and I competed against each other for a long time. And then when we went to Ferris, our relationship changed drastically. We became, really, really good friends, and we talk, and I lean on Jack a little bit. And Jack's great friends with Cal Van Single, who you're close with. And, when you surround yourself with great men like that, men of Christ and men that represent the right things, it's hard not to feel part of that and become part of that. And so I think it's fortunate. I think God works in mysterious ways to bring Jack and I together at Ferris State with Tony and do some of the things and get to know each other better. And, Jack and I, we text each other constantly, wish each other best of luck. I had Jack up here to work at kicking camp, or down here to work at kicking camp this summer. And our kids talk about him and things that he taught them. And I just think of the thousands of people that man's worked with, whether college, high school level. And, Eric's right. Eric's very fortunate. Parents are special people, and you don't get to pick them, but when you get one like Jack, you get to hang on to him and work with him. That's an incredible opportunity. And so I'm sure a lot of people are jealous of. I think of Jack almost like a father figure in the fact that he's been great to me and great to my boys, and extremely respectful, and nothing but respect for the Schugars family and what they've done.
And then we touched on this, Dan, but just the fact that this is your second year at De La Salle, and you faced a team that you're familiar with last year, and you're facing people you're familiar with again. I mean, you just can't plan that. And it's just something that just happens. And it's got to be pretty special. But I know once you're in game mode, you're not looking at any of those things. You're looking at trying to win the game and all that stuff. But, what kind of along the same lines, if you look at Jack Schugars being such an instrumental influence on both of you guys and a lot of people really around the area and across the state, but what do each of you guys want your programs to represent? What do you want your programs to stand for? When people think of your programs, what do you think is the impression that people have of them?
I think it's important that when they play our team, that they know our team is prepared to play, and our kids come out and play hard. And, win or lose, when you walk off the field, I think there's been a time where it's passed where people kind of shake hands, let things go, and have a lot of respect for each other. And maybe after time that those things settle, but losses hurt. Like nobody wants to lose a football game, but as part of the process, I think to have respect for the team that's across from you is really important. And I think last year we played North Shores. I had a ton of respect for the people standing on the other side of the sideline, but you said when that first kickoff goes off, you want to win the football game, and you're coaching hard to win the football game, and you're doing everything you can. But again, the minute that's over, that respect and that love and that care for each other is always there. And, that's important to me. And you're going in the same battle this year. Eric's a great young man, and his dad's been a great mentor in my life, but, I value this, and winning this game is really important to my school and my program. And I'm going to do everything I can to give our kids an opportunity to win and compete well. And, it's tough that we're going against probably the best quarterback last year and the best quarterback this year still playing the playoffs, a kid that's super physical, but we'll get our kids ready to play, and we'll be prepared. And after the game, we'll talk before the game, but after the game, we'll shake hands and give a hug, win or lose. I have nothing but respect for what they're doing up there.
And what about you, Eric? How do you view that in terms of what you want your program to be, how you want it to be recognized across the state? What's most important to you?
Yeah, I think one thing, you're trying to instill values in these young men. That's ultimately what you're trying to do through the game of football. And just there's a sense of pride in that. You talk about building a culture and a program that kind of gets better year after year. And that's, he alluded to it earlier about surround yourself with good people. We have a phenomenal staff of coaches here, guys that have had experience, and having my dad along the ride and just being able to talk to those guys about their experiences and coaches in coaching has made my job easier, that I have these resources around me. That's why I became a football coach. I watched my dad do it for all these years, and he never did it about himself. He's like, it was all about the players and investing in them, and you teach them to serve and love others. And that's kind of what we try to do up here. And at the end of the day, though, the pressure is real. You represent a community, you represent a tradition and pride of Trojan football up here. And you want to win, and you want to put a great product on the field for people, and you want the community and players and parents to be proud of what you're doing. And that's what we're trying to do up here. And I think that's important, but it does start with what is your culture about? What do they value? And that's where it begins. And I know Dan just mentioned about it's part of the process and growth of that, And I'm just excited that we're continuing to grow and trying to get better. And here we are in the state championship game with an opportunity to do something we haven't done up here in 33 years, and that's, again, I respect what he's done. And I know the work that he's put into building that program. And like you said, we want to win the game as badly as he does.
Can you each give a quick scouting report of the opponent? And I'm not asking to give away game plans or anything like that, but just your general assessment of the opponent that you're facing this week.
I've been preaching to my coaches and my kids all week that this is going to be the most disciplined and most prepared football team that we've played in a long time. And, between knowing their coaches and knowing their family and knowing what they do and how to prepare and just watching them on film, they're not going to beat themselves. We're going to have to earn this. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're not going to make stupid penalties, and they're going to play really, really good, sound defense fundamentally. And so, when you play that type of team, you better be able to take advantage of some opportunities that we're going to get. And that's what it comes down to. When you get to the state championship, you should want to play the best. And I think we're definitely playing against the best this year.
It's similar approach. Like teams don't get here by accident. They're fundamentally sound. They do a great job in all aspects of the game. And so you just have to match you got to look at those areas where maybe there's deficiencies and maybe where you're better at and try to exploit those. But ultimately, I think you got to take care of the football. You got to be disciplined, and you can't give up big plays. You kind of know your opponent and what they've done to get here. And we know De Salle, we watch them and have success and do it in a variety of ways. But ultimately, it's like, can you match that on Friday at 1:00? We can draw everything up. We can have great practices and things like that. But can you play your best game, Friday at 1:00? And that's what we're going to attempt to do.
So then, are there any other links? I know, or connections to Muskegon or West Michigan? I know you got Odette on your staff, Eric, and then I don't know if there are any West Michigan links on your staff, Dan, or any other connections between you guys that maybe we haven't addressed yet.
I don't.
Yeah,
really
one of our assistants.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One of our assistants, Tom Passano, was at Grand Rapids Catholic Central for many years, and he obviously was the head coach prior to me. So that would be a West Michigan connection there. That I could think of. And
yeah, I have a young man on my staff that played at West Catholic when we played against Oak Ridge, Andy Zimmerman. So Andy knows there's connections. There've been a lot of people from both schools. I mean, from Orchard View who've reached out this week. I've seen posts on Facebook. Jimmy Nielsen's reached out, but even guys from Oak Ridge who have nothing but respect for Jack and Schugars. And I think I saw a post by Tom Kendra. There's still a lot to cheer for in the playoffs. Traverse City, you got the Schugars family, and the Muskegon football, it's just different. It's special, and being over at Traverse City, I'm sure they carry some of that tradition and that you see along that lakeshore. But you still think, when I think about football and West Michigan and value, and I'm sure a lot of those people are going to be watching on Friday because they're going to support Jack Schugars and the Schugars family because they're Oak Ridge ties. And that's so, being over here, we don't have to beat Traverse City. We got to beat Muskegon. We got to beat all West Michigan. We understand that. And, I think Eric and I both say the same thing. It's being from Orchard View, you grow up in some tough situations. You have to learn things the hard way. We'd like to see that program get itself back going again. And, hopefully they can feed off their JV success and, have a varsity football team, because it was disappointing to see what happened, but that's part of what football is at right now in society.
No, you took me right where I wanted to go to wrap up this interview, Dan. And what are your thoughts on that, Eric, when you look at, obviously, again, you're trying to win a game, you're trying to lead your team, Traverse City Central, to that state title and everything. But when you look at the big picture and what this means and just how much pride there is in your roots, I mean, how do you kind of sum it all up?
Yeah, I'm blessed to be in this position, to be able to coach this team. And I understand the importance. And again, I told you, I grew up watching my father do it. And that's what inspired me to get into teaching and coaching. It wasn't my original plan, but it was always a plan in the back of my mind. Yeah, I want to get into coaching and teaching later. And I'm glad I did at the beginning of the career. But just the importance of that, and just understanding that, these young kids grow up with dreams and aspirations of being in this game, and our community has talked about some of some of the past of that. So it's great to represent Traverse City and kind of that West Michigan connection too. I mean, people understand who my dad is and the success of my father, and the impacts he's made in the skiing community. And it's neat to see people reach out and support us in that way. And it's, like I said, I'm blessed, like I said, to be the son of Jack Schugars. But I'm also blessed to be who I am too, and be able to come up here and lead the program and kind of take what I've learned from him and then apply that, to our Traverse City community. There are some connections. It's funny, when I moved here, people were like, "You're from Muskegon," and there was like immediate hatred from like Traverse City and Muskegon days in the past. It was amazing. They're like, we don't like you, because of those rivalries. So it's interesting how two communities they're similar. There's not as many schools up here as there is in the Muskegon area, but it's similar in how they appreciate and love their football and the way the community supports it.
No, I think it's a big fraternity. I'm sure you guys would say that. Coaching is a fraternity. And I also will say, Dan, I know you said that a lot of Muskegon people would probably be cheering for the Schugars family, and I think there will be, but I think there's a lot of people cheering for you too. I mean, there's a lot of people proud of both of you guys in this area. So, and that's why I wanted to get you together on this interview. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see the game Friday. I think it's a great matchup. Can't wait to see how that plays out. And I wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate you joining me today. Thanks a lot, guys. Good luck.
Thanks, Scott. We really appreciate what you do for high school sports, high school athletics, and it's guys like you that keep this going and moving forward. So look forward to putting on a good show on Friday, and look forward to seeing the Schugars family.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
I echo those sentiments. Thanks, Scott, for what you do for high school football and high school athletes, and it's a great thing. And looking forward to seeing you on Friday.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.